It seems like every time I run into town, I get attacked. And I hate that. I have PTSD. I actually have Cptsd. I was diagnosed with PTSD back in 1994. So, before it became cool. And often with PTSD, you're a fight, flight, or freeze. I'm a fight. 5'3", and I'm a fight. And I don't know if it's society or my town that I live rurally out of this town. But people are just unhinged. You know, this situation at a Burger King, I was getting food for my worker. And this car tried to come out this way, and a guy was behind me and in front of them. And he couldn't bother to back up a foot or two so we could, make things move. Otherwise, we were locked. And luckily, I was able to do a 10-point turn and get out of there. By the time I got the turn, he'd gone around. And so I met him around the other side, and he's right there, and I honked at him because he was going to try to, do the same thing again. After that, I went to the bank next door, and he's screaming at me out his window, and calling me a white bitch and all this stuff, and just screaming at me. Now I'm a fight, and I've been triggered. I hate that word is so overused, because for some of us it's a real thing. And so then I'm screaming back at him. I don't use the N-word. It didn't even come in my mind. But who's the racist in that one, right? So then go from there, ran by Casey's to get me a soda, and the guys that come collect the cash was parked in the handicap spot. Well, I've got a handicap sticker because I'm handicapped. And so I just pulled my car behind him and ran in, got back in the car, and he gets out of his thing and is yelling at me, telling me to move and all this. And I'm like, dude, you're parked in a handicap spot. I said, are you handicapped? I can do this and blah, blah, and just started screaming at me again. When I was at Kroger, I went to pick up a prescription. I pulled in the hash mark because I didn't see it. And I was going to back up and pull over in the right spot. But before I could do that, this woman, a young lady, young female, whipped in, and her boyfriend got out to go pick up his paycheck. And I said, hey, you're in a handicap spot. And she jumped out of her car with her phone in hand filming and is screaming at me. And I'm now, back against the wall, triggered, and I'm trapped because she's now behind me recording my license plate or whatever. And I'm just like freaked out. And I called 911, and I'm like, hey, this woman's attacking me and everything. They said, can you get her car license number? So I got out of the car and I got her car license, and she approaches me and, what are you doing? Da, 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 da. And just continued to scream and scream and scream at me. The car window was rolled up, and I stayed in my car, and I just backed out of there and went through the drive-through pharmacy instead. But an officer did come, and I talked to him, and I said, hey, I just came to get my prescription, and it laid everything out. And he's like, yeah, he says, this is all the time. I said, I don't even want to come into town anymore. He says, we hear that a lot. But of course she was gone by then, and there was nothing they could do. And basically he was telling me to suck it up, and I had been attacked. All I said was, you're parked in a handicap spot. You're not a handicapped person, which then, everything she did, all I said was that. I mean, she could have said, I would just be here for a second. It would have de-escalated. It would have never escalated, whatever. I'm scared to go into town. And then, of course, I think about everything I've done wrong, and then I get so down on myself, you know, trying to be a good Christian, but you're out there screaming with people in parking lots and stuff. I want to be a good Christian, but I have this thing that throws me into fight, fright, or freeze, and I come out fight, and I try to hang on to it, and I do well. I could have behaved so much worse, but it's just a real struggle. I don't have a gun. I don't carry a gun because I'm afraid of what I would do. And up in St. Louis, they've had several cases where people are shooting each other over this stuff now. I do have pepper spray. If they get too much in my face and scream at me, I will use that. I did get one of those little horns in a can, which I forgot to use today. I mean, I feel like it's dangerous. I go into town and I'm being set off. And yeah, I could have not honked at that guy. I don't understand why that's such a horrible thing, because he's racing around. He's going to hit me. I honked at him. I think we're now to the point where you either suck it up and you're being bullied by people, or you fight. I just don't even want to run into town anymore, even for the littlest stuff. It's not right. They were wrong. My behavior wasn't what I would hope it would be. Definitely not Christ-like. But inside of me is the Hulk. And when I get set off, and I try not to, the Hulk comes out. And I take medication to try to mitigate it. I've done therapy. I have really worked at this. But this is part of me. The Cptsd is part of me. Just as diabetes is. And I don't know how I can survive in this society the way it is. Like this. I would not want to be a freeze. And I do flight also. But the last time I tried flight, I backed up to get away from the situation. I backed into another car. And then I couldn't go forward, and I backed into it a second time. Like, I don't know how to do it in a better way. I don't know, when you are not in charge, how you can do it in a better way. I know how to bring myself back down. I know how to all of that, but it's PTSD. It is what it is. And another part of it is, when this happens, you get this massive adrenaline dump. And now my heart has gone from 60 to 120, you know? And now I'm having a cardiac issue. I just don't know how to win this. Anyway, it is what it is, right?